Hi guys, Artiar. So for this video is about Yu Jing's final conclusion after I've been using her for these few days. So since I tested in PTR server and then I also tested in the global as well, I would say that her performance is still gonna be very good. After I tested, it's like, yes, she is still one of the best unit for Falsetto Fantasy. But let's not take Falsetto Fantasy into a consideration. Her performance is actually not as good as I thought. Like, a lot of video that I posted about Yu Jing is because she's a very good pair with Lu Shang, right? And which is it is a very good pair, but only in Falsetto Fantasy, because like, let's say in PvE content, because her kit is tied with Lu Shang. Like, her divinity is about Lu Shang, her S3 here, the bonus turn effect is about Lu Shang because the Accentuator is from Lu Shang, and then the warm welcome to make it a golden realm buff is also for Lu Shang, because maybe you think that silver buff and a golden buff is the same thing. Technically no, because golden buff cannot be dispelled, and if warm welcome can be dispelled, it's actually a worse thing for Yu Jing. So like, her kit is actually very good, just that you need Lu Shang. And a lot of our PvE content, so let's for example, let's not take Falsetto Fantasy in the consideration, right? Let's take Ritual Miracle. Like, Lu Shang can be used in Chronos by himself, but APAP here you can only use Yu Jing herself, but without Lu Shang inside the APAP, which means you are not able to use Yu Jing kit. Basically, Yu Jing's 80% of her kit is actually surrounding around Lu Shang. So let's say in Desolate Land, Lu Shang can be used in Shadow Fire just by himself, but you can't use Yu Jing in Shadow Guild because of you are not able to use Lu Shang there. So what kind of PvE content can Yu Jing conquer or Yu Jing good at in PvE? She's gonna be very good at Shadow Glow. Recently I pushed my high score higher again because I used one of the team that's on a leaderboard now, that is Yu Jing inside here, because Yu Jing here plus Lu Shang in the same team will make Yu Jing's value 100% and also fasten Lu Shang accentuated back stack buff, which is very strong in Shadow Glow. But this team is more towards into min-maxing damage. Like, if you don't care about leaderboard, if you just want to hit the EX++, you don't really need Yu Jing. Right, but you see like leaderboard here in world ranking, you can see starting like Nerd Masa here is not using, but Disobey here is using Yu Jing here to keep buffing up for Sujie, and not a lot of team here is actually using Yu Jing. So like, is the value of Yu Jing actually that high? After some consideration, I would say that I feel like maybe I rate her too high. Like, she's really good, just that maybe not until like a must pull, not like a mandatory pull for it. Like, but in Falsetto Fantasy, it's gonna be a very good choice, because you can pair Lu Shang and Yu Jing into a team, and it's actually pretty freedom to actually test their damage, because you can use any kind of element damage, right? So in Falsetto Fantasy, Yu Jing is a very worth value. So if you are a PvE player but you don't really enjoy Falsetto Fantasy, you are not one of the player that's chasing for the Falsetto Fantasy leaderboard, then I think you can actually skip Yu Jing, because Yu Jing must have Lu Shang, which means your account must have Lu Shang first, then you get Yu Jing, then you must have a very good DPS. Yu Jing will fasten the Lu Shang accentuated buff for that target. But other than Falsetto Fantasy content, in other PvE content, there's only Shadow Glow. The rest of the PvE content you can't really use Yu Jing. Okay, then let's take a look at PvP. So in my previous video, I did make like a meta Li-Ling team or a Moriyama team that requires Lu Shang and Yu Jing and Zihe in a team, right? That's the team that I thought. But then when you go until global server, more player is actually playing without Yu Jing. So let's say the first player here, the Fatima Underwear, is using a Moriyama team, which Lu Shang is within, but Yu Jing is not inside. Then let's take a look at team 2 here. This is not Moriyama team. Let me find another Moriyama team. Alright, another Moriyama team here that have Lu Shang and Zihe, but Yu Jing is not a mandatory as per. And let's take a look at the other team here. Moriyama team have Lu Shang but don't have Yu Jing. This one here is Wu Yu. This one here is Momo. This one is Zihe. This one is Zihe. Like all those top players don't really play Yu Jing. Like this one another Moriyama team, but she's using Zihe instead of the other Esper that can pair with Moriyama or the Meta Lilink. So even in PvP content, Yu Jing is not really that popular as well. Because at first I thought that it's going to be very popular, it's going to be very strong in PvP as well. See, they are using Zihe, they are using Lu Shang, but they are not using Yu Jing. So one of the main issue, I think, based on my own opinion using on her, she dies too easily. And the revive 50%, oh, we finally have one from Rosary. But the revive of the 50% is not enough to make her that good. Right. And because the revive is actually, we revive midway. So let's say Moriyama hits like 5 hit, right? And then if he hits on Yu Jing will revive that target. And then the remaining hit will still hit on the target, which is actually a bad thing if you are playing Yu Jing main buff, which is the warm welcome, right? Because you revive instantly, they die. So let's say you Moriyama have 5 hit, you die at the second hit, then you instantly revive, and then the third, fourth, and fifth hit will still hit over the Esper they revive, and then no longer able to revive again from the warm welcome. Like different from what I tested. When I tested that, yes, you can keep reapply the warm welcome to the target and then keep reviving the target, which is correct as long as the target can survive. But what if the target can't even survive after the revive from warm welcome? And another issue is, I noticed that in PvP content, when I use Yu Jing, a lot of the character AI actually target on Yu Jing first. I don't know why, but my Yu Jing die very easily, and every time Yu Jing die, then the warm welcome and all the other buff can't really fulfill the condition to make her strong. So my final opinion is, I would say if you are Falsetto Fantasy meta chaser, like if you really want to push your Falsetto Fantasy score, you have Lu Shang, then getting Yu Jing is a good pick. R0 to R2 is a good range, doesn't have to go until R6. But if you are not a Falsetto, you don't really think Falsetto Fantasy is a content that you enjoy, and you're looking for an Esper that can cover most of the more content instead of just Falsetto Fantasy, then I would say you can skip her. You can skip her and maybe save for the next upcoming Esper. The next upcoming Esper, I think, is going to be the Bird Guy. If you haven't summoned yet and you're not really a Falsetto Fantasy chaser and Shadow Glow leaderboard chaser, then you can actually skip her. I think that I overrated her value in too many content. Like I even rate her in PvP, right? But in the end, in PvP, it's actually very hard to actually use her. Even though myself, I make her R2, it's still pretty hard to use her. But I really enjoy her in Falsetto Fantasy because time to time, I'll change my team and then try to push high score. And Yu Jing really pushes a lot of the high score. Like a lot. But only in Falsetto Fantasy. So depends on your needs. I would say that if you are not going for Falsetto Fantasy, Yu Jing is totally skippable because the other content is pretty hard to use her. Doesn't really have a position for her other than Falsetto Fantasy content and Shadow Glow. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to comment down what you guys think about it, and see you guys in the next video. Bye bye. Special thanks for the direct support on the YouTube membership. So for the benefactor of Artiar, which is Gen MP, Molkut Regally, The Blue Chilane, Yaki Shiba Tails, Kemi, thank you so much for the support. And for the supporter and patron of Artiar, which is Louis Schneider, Agni, Code Wilderness, Wang Tamer, Ziggy, Kamaruki, Sunwalks, Rimu, Choni, Von Hexa, Antonio Winterspoon, Marlene Williams, Uncle Chat, Eric Mendes, Craigreen, Riku Fred X Iris, Calamity, Jordan Alons, Rocco Stanzions. Thank you so much for your support. And that's not all. Also special thanks for the direct support on the live stream super chat for the latest tag. So special thanks to Ziggy, Calamity, Agni, Love Fatima, Fatima Little Underwear, Bloods, Riku Fred, Johnny. Thank you so much for your support. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.